Hello, everybody. Good morning to all participants here in Chile, and good afternoon to all of you over in Switzerland. We are really happy that you could assist our webinar, Customs in Chile, How to Export with Ease. So this webinar is organized by the Chilean Chamber of Commerce, the Chilean Customs Chamber, Felipe Serrano Customs Agency, and the Chilean Trade Point. I want to give a special thanks to our partners, Switzerland Global Enterprise, who helped us organize the event back in Switzerland, and Alfonso Orlando, Head of Export Help, who will give us a presentation too at the end of the webinar. Well, just a brief introduction of the Chilean Chamber of Commerce and myself. My name is Constanza Cárdenas. I'm the Swiss Chilean Chamber of Commerce's General Manager. The Swiss Chilean Chamber has existed for over 65 years, and we count with 100 members. One of our main tasks is to add value in all what we do and help our member companies with any kind of service they need. So that's it. I don't want to take more time, and I would like to present Juan Eduardo. He's the Union Manager of the Chilean Customs Agency, and he's one of the organizers too. So Juan Eduardo, please go ahead.
Thank you, Constanza. Good afternoon, Switzerland. Good morning, Chile. For Chilean Customs Chamber, it has been a pleasure to work together with Swiss Chilean Chamber of Commerce and Switzerland Global Enterprise in the preparation of this seminar. The Chilean Customs Chamber was founded in 1939 is the institution that brings together most of the country customs brokers, having an uninterrupted track record for more than 80 years at the service of an international trade, based and joined on collaborative work with public and private sectors for the benefit of all the involved parties in the foreign trade chain. Our guild is also founding partner of the Association of Professional Customs Agents, ASAPRA, created in Chile in 1969, and is currently headquartered in Uruguay, gathering 22 countries from Latin America, North America, and Europe. The competitiveness generated by the demands of the globalized world is a source of encouragement and motivation for us. Today, with experience gained and shared for more than 80 decades, we project ourselves into the future, bringing our activity towards digital transformation and integration of global supply chains. I thank our associate, Mr. Felipe Serrano, for his willingness to give us his knowledge and experiences in this webinar, and to all of you for being here. Be sure you can always count on the Chilean Customs Chamber and its partner support in facilitating the development of trade between both countries. So, as not to bore you more, I leave you a video that summarizes the role of the customs broker and the Chilean Customs Chamber's path. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan Eduardo. I'll show the video now.
Foreign trade is a mighty, incessant, and sometimes turbulent river. To navigate in these waters of high professional demand, customs agencies deploy their technicians and professionals to ensure with efficiency and speed the incessant flow of international trade with a clear purpose: to meet the needs of the recipients in people's homes, or in the warehouses of the companies. Chile's foreign trade process follows the waves of today's new collaborative economy. Everything digitized, everything in networks through the internet, and customs agents respond to that call, streamlining their processes and incorporating technology into their operations. Complying in an agile and efficient way their role as ministers of faith, agents and assistants of the customs public function. The Chilean Customs Chamber is the association that brings together the largest number of customs agents in the country, from Arica to Punta Arenas. It has an uninterrupted trajectory of more than 80 years at the service of Chile and foreign trade. The union's task is summarized in a joint work with the state to deliver an efficient service, based on continuous improvement, for all the actors that carry out operations in foreign trade, and his north is marked by challenges that intersect with the aspirations and projections of the entire nation. The competitiveness generated by the demands of a globalized world is a source of encouragement and inspiration. For this reason, the Customs Chamber of Chile assumes the permanent training of its associates as a priority task to increase the professionalization of the union. CAMCAP is synonymous with excellence in training services to deliver skills and technical tools to customs agents and the public and private world in general. If you have to choose a word to summarize the essence of and the spirit of both associations, is collaboration. Today, with the experience acquired and shared over more than 8 decades, the Chilean Customs Chamber projects itself towards the future. The customs agents are focused on the complex and challenging task of promoting a world-class integrated foreign trade system that is nurtured by cooperation and mutual trust. They carry out their work with dedication and enthusiasm. They serve the country, importers and exporters, supporting entrepreneurship, facilitating exchange between countries. Our union is also a founding member of the Association of Professional Customs Agents, ASAPR. Created in Vina del Mar in 1969, and currently based in Uruguay. Each of these agents is clear that their work is a very important link for the long-awaited integral development of Chile. Chilean Customs Chamber, Customs Agents. Since 1939.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Now I want to give the pass to Vanessa Mortele. Vanessa, I want to welcome you. Vanessa is the project director of the Chilean Trade Point. So Vanessa, when you're ready. Hello, Vanessa, there you are. Can you hear us? I cannot hear you, Vanessa. But Vanessa,
can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yeah,
okay,
great.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I had technical issues after the video and had to join again. I'm ready now. Thank you.
Can you see the presentation, Vanessa?
Yes, I see it. If you can do it in presentation mode, that would be great.
Of course. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Welcome from my side as well. Good morning to the colleagues in Chile and good afternoon to my colleagues in Switzerland. I'm very pleased to be here at this webinar today. I hope it will be interesting for you and we can really provide you interesting information. I also would like to say that feel free to enter any questions into the chat during the webinar, and then we will answer these questions at the end of our talks. Juan Eduardo, I'm really sorry, you're not on mute, so I can hear you. Okay, my name is Vanessa Mortele, and I work for the Swiss Embassy here in Chile, but I'm also part of Switzerland Global Enterprise. So I would quickly like to explain what we do at Switzerland Enterprise. Constanza, can you please put the next slide? Thank you. So I am part of a global network, which consists of 39 branches in different formats. These can be Swiss business hubs or trade points that belong to Swiss embassies, but they can also be Chamber of Commerce, like the one we have here in Chile. So in Chile, we have both formats and we work very closely together, as you can see with this webinar. So whenever we want to support Swiss companies, we put forces together to support you. We have in total 200 people working for Switzerland Global Enterprise. 100 belong to the team in Switzerland and 100 are spread around the world. Next slide, please. So quickly talking about how we support Swiss businesses. Our mandate is to support Swiss companies from finish to start. The services can provide basic information like public publications that we provide on the website. It can mean that we do webinars like these, but it can also be individual consultings that we do in Switzerland or online. Then we also provide market analysis, individual or general. We can provide legal advice to companies or also search for partners in the target market. And we organize Swiss pavilions for trade fairs and individual or group business trips. When it comes to the support in the market, we always work in partnership with the chamber. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when we talk about custom matters, part of the basic information and consulting we provide is a free access to all Swiss and Liechtenstein companies via the SG platform to the Mendel database, which provides you with information like nomenclature, customs tariff, import formalities, and also rule of origin. Every Swiss company can register freely on the SG website. I provided the link below, but you can also find it going to the website sge.com. Next slide, please. Now, just briefly touch base on Switzerland and Chile trade. There is a free agreement in place since 2004. It is being reviewed currently to modernize. Since 2015, looking at the figures, export from Switzerland to Chile has grown 44%, which definitely is a success story. Last year, we had a total of $366 exports from Swiss companies to Chile. Next slide, please. So looking at the category of products, they're mainly exported from Switzerland to Chile. Main part, more than 50%, are pharmaceutical products, vitamins, and diagnostic equipment. Second is watches and precision instruments with 17%, closely followed by machines, appliances, and electronics with 15%, and then only below 1% we have chemical products that are exported from Switzerland to Chile. Next slide, please. So coming back to specific custom matters, in the last couple of years, we kept receiving inquiries from Swiss companies with questions about customs problems that we then answered individually, but we felt that it would be beneficial to everyone if we summarize these issues and if we provide a fact sheet that we just published yesterday online on the SG website. Which will provide an overview about general information regarding customs, about how custom agents support the export process, prohibition of specific products, import of samples and guarantee covered goods, goods in transit, free trade zones, mutual agreements of organic products, also labeling, marketing requirements, and the registration procedures for pharmaceutical cosmetic products. So we hope with that fact sheet we can provide you a go-to document that can help you with your first initial questions. Then if you still have questions, there's always our expert help team. Alfonso, my colleague, will later on provide you with more details about how they support you. Next slide, please. And with that, I would like to close my presentation. This is an overview about Team Chile. I leave you here the contact details of all of us. Fabio Speciale is our consultant for LATAM in Zurich and always your first point of contact. Then also my colleague, Mark Untersander, who is the head of Trade Point here in Chile, and myself. I hope you liked the presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Now I'll ask Felipe. Felipe, thank you so much. You're there. Now Felipe Serrano will present the main presentation. He will talk about export help here in Chile, how to import, how to export. So please, Felipe, do take it away. I'll give you the control immediately.
Well, good morning, everybody in Chile, and good afternoon to all of the people in Switzerland. I would like to thank to Constanza Cárdenas from the Chilean Switzerland Chamber of Trade, also to Mr. Juan Eduardo Figueroa from the Chilean Customs Chamber, and of course to Vanessa Moderle and Alfonso Orlando from the Switzerland Global Enterprise. And well, of course, a special thanks to the audience here today that are with us in this very important conference and topic that we are going to review in this day. Well, as you can see in the screen, today we are going to review some interesting topics between both countries, Chile and Switzerland. Mainly in the number one, you can see requirements of the authorities. Then you have international treaties that people can get some advantage in terms when you have companies or you can establish in Chile. Then we are going to see particularly the free trade agreement between Chile and Switzerland through the FTA treaty that we have in common. Then we have the OEA and their benefits. That is a particularly rule that we have, a new rule that we have here in Chile since a couple of years, just 2 years, I mean. And that is something very good for the imports. Then we are going to review a real operation, and that's an interesting topic for people that don't know too much about imports. And of course, we are going to see also interesting points of the logistic change as well. And at the end, just to mention some things about the pandemic situation in our side and in our view about the international trade. Well, firstly, just to give you some information about requirements here in Chile. Most important, as you can see in the screen, of course, in the right side of the screen, you can see that some important merchandise that we cannot enter to the country, just dangerous cargo like asbestos, toxic industrial waste, and so on. But also important to know things like used motorcycles and cars are also not allowed to bring to our country. So that's important to have in mind, because some people ask very much about this, and that is not possible as well. So that we have a form that we can give to the customer and to the people, but this is the mainly rules, let's say, because it's important to mention this kind of stuff. There are not so many, but mainly this is important to know. Then, as you can see in this table, It is a very important one because here you can see in the left side of the screen the goods, I mean the merchandises that you can import to our country, and then in the right side you see the state agency that authorize these products to entry to our country. So as you can see, the first line, we have pharmaceutical products that are very important in terms of trade between Switzerland and Chile. And after the custom authorization that we have to make for bring to our country, we have an additional authorization that we have to make, and this one is by the Public Health Institute here in our country. These, of course, are everything coordinated by custom agencies and their employees and collaborators. But of course, it's very important to know how is the functionality here in our country. As you can see also in the table, there are many different products as well. I mentioned the pharmaceutical because it's one of the most important in terms of trade, as I said before. But also, as you can see in the bottom of this table, also things like products of food by product of animal or vegetable origin. Then we have, for example, another state agency that is very important here in our country, that in our language, that is we spell SAG, that is SAG in Chile, and in English the translation would be Agricultural and Livestock Agency. And we work also with this agency very near, because there are many products related with those kind of certification. And finally, of course, there are other ones that, for example, like the fish products, that there is another secretary, that is the fisheries undersecretary, that are under the control of this kind of products and give the permission to import those kind of products to our country. Well, then we have the situation of taxes. This is a very important one, of course. As you can see in the screen, this is an example, of course. In the left side of the screen, you can see a CIF value. I think everyone can know a little bit of international trade. So to be simple, you have this $100,000. Then to calculate our custom duty here in Chile, normally we have the 6%, and you direct calculate this one, and you obtain $6,000 that you will have to pay. And then you have a letter B that you can calculate the VAT. That here in Chile we have this VAT right now, and since many years ago we have 19%. And then we have at the end a total amount of 26,140. Okay. The important thing here is that, and we are going to review later, then the letter A that you can see in the screen, we can avoid with the treaty between Chile and Switzerland. So that means that we can not pay the letter A, so we avoid the $6,000. And important to say that we are going to review later, letter B, we can defer the VAT for a maximum period of 2 months if we obtain the certification of OEA that we are going to review later. So practically today, if we have both options, if we wanted to import merchandise and we are in the condition that the custom authorities ask, we have the possibilities to when we made an importation here in Chile, to avoid both taxes immediately and just to pay the VAT after 60 days. Then we have here a situation of additional taxes. Of course, for some of you who wanted to import, or in this case, export some merchandise from Switzerland to Chile, so familiar jewelry, rings, or maybe watches and so on. Important to know that some things that are categorized like gold objects and so on have to pay an additional tax of 15%. So that's very important to know. There are other products like carpet and so on that also pay this kind of taxes. That is just important, but just to mention. And in the right side of the screen, you can see also other kind of products like alcoholic drinks, and in the bottom you can see cigarettes and tobacco. But important to see that this kind of product in this slide have additional taxes. That is the only thing, because normally here in Chile we have a very, let's say, order system. We practically don't pay many taxes, but this kind of product have particularly rules. And of course, as you can see in the screen, the alcoholic drinks have many different rules in terms of the degrees of alcoholic that have each product. Well, then we have a situation that finalized with some requirements depending of the kind of people or the kind of person that wanted to import to Chile. In comparison with other countries here in the region, in Chile we have, let's say, a particularly situation because we don't have import licenses. So it is very easy to import, let's say. And that means that we have basically two possibilities of import merchandises. The number one, as you can see on the screen, is as a legal person, just a normal person who wanted to import merchandises. And the other one, and the other one is like a company. Okay, and when you are a company, you can obtain some benefits. You can apply some certification like OEA and so on. So that is practically the two ways that you can do things here in terms of import. And of course, we are going to review some things later on. Well, here you can see also, related with the slide before, the documents that normally we need to make some imports. Maybe these things are familiar for some of you. Of course, we have here, in terms of general cargo, the first 5 documents. Normally here in Chile are the most important ones: commercial invoice, bill of lading, insurance policy, packing list, and certificate of origin. And then when we have situation of not general cargo, we have other certificates like phytosanitary, analysis certificate, other permit, visas, approvals, and other ones that are depending of the particular cargo that we wanted to import to the country. Well, here we go to the topic number 2. That is a short one. Here, just to mention the particular characteristic that we have here in Chile in terms of international treaties and trades. We are an open country since the 1990s. As you can see in the screen, in the bottom, we have 29 free trade agreements with 65 economies. and that represents an 88% of world GDP and approximate, as you can see as well, 5,000 million of people in terms of of people that we can reach in those economies. And you can see as well some flags in the screen that are the most important ones in terms of trade that we have right now. You can see, of course, the United States and China, both the most important countries in the world in terms of international trade right now, and of course the European Union in the number third in the rank, with the three mentioned countries and alliance in the case of the European Union. We have an international agreements. Here there is just to mention some important other free trade agreements with that we have here in Chile with Australia, Canada, also with the Mercosur, that is the alliance that we have here in the region, very important, with Argentina, Brazil, and some other countries. Of course, also to mention, very important, with Japan, India, and the most important one here today, the EFTA that we are going to review later. And here, the last picture of this topic, important to mention you that because like these are very many other cases of successful, but here we wanted to show you the case of Comercio, that is a Japanese company that's came to Chile a couple of years ago, and they decided to install some facilities here, some warehouse as well, and they decided to start a project here to develop and produce some of their spare parts and so on. And right now they started to export to some countries, trying to profit the advantage of the international trade that we have with Mercosur, for example, and export to the market of Brazil, for example. And Brazil have a population of 250 million of people, for example. So that is more than less 15 times the market of Chile. So that is important to know and to mention, because as I told you before, the situation or cases of successful like these are many others. Well, then the topic number 3, we have here the FTA, that is our important topic today. And just to mention some details, this free trade agreement came in force in December of 2004. So it's not a new one treaty, and we have this treaty not just with Switzerland, so also with Liechtenstein, Norway, and Iceland. But of course, today more important Switzerland and Liechtenstein. So in this slide, as you can see, we are mainly focused in the situation of the certificate of origin. I mean the origin of the products, because it's important to give some important information or give some tips to the people, or maybe if you have some questions afterwards and so on, you can give there, and we can, of course, help you after the seminar. Well, as you can see here, we have to access to the tariff discount, we have mainly two situations, the number 1 and number 2 here in the slide. And then the number 3 is just something to avoid the situation of let's say, to apply to the to a certificate, or to apply to the export code and so on. So mainly the number 1 and 2 are the important ones, and we are going to review in the next slides. Certificate of origin, well, that is from the beginning of the treaty was the most important situation. Of course, here we started with this, and we learned everyone that we work in this matters of trade through this kind of certificate, because it's also the same one that we applied for the European Union. And most important to say, as you can see in the screen, number 5, the validity of the certificate of origin is 10 months. So that means that if you have any problem to when the customer apply this certificate in the other country, well, you can resolve this problem, but you only have 10 months to can resolve the problem. So you don't have to wait time until you lose this time. So that's the most important thing to say. Saying that, we can compare a little bit this situation of the EU1, sorry, and the certificate of origin. And in this case, we have the number 2 that we mentioned before, that is the famous exporter code. And right now, for me at least, is something more modern, let's say, that you can avoid the certificate of origin that you have to apply every time for every shipment. And here, if you obtain this exporter code, you can give this one to every shipment, but it's a situation of effectiveness and so on. So I think that it could be very productive for the future. So important to know here in this thing that, as you can see in the left side of the screen, we have the legend that you have to use for the commercial invoice, as they state here. And in the right side, in the top, you have in a red square, you have practically the legend with an example which you have to apply this legend. So as you can see here, you can read the exporter of the product and so on, who have a custom authorization with a number, declares that clearly indicate this product of Swiss preferential origin with this kind of letters, okay? So that is very important, because sometimes there are things of some query of the authorities and so on. So it's better always to have completely information in this kind of stuff, because of this thing of because sometimes, let's say that authorities don't read things of the same time, let's say. And to clarify, well, here in Chile, normally have very good manners in comparison with other countries of the region. But equally, it's good to know that if you have better transcription here, it would be easier to obtain the benefits. Well, as you can see, to return to the topic, as I mentioned in the very first topic, you can see here that through this certificate of origin, you can avoid this 6% of the custom duty or ad valorem duty. So that is very important, that you can avoid, in this case of $100,000, this 6,000 additional cost for the import. So it's not a bad idea. And then it's not just to mention, but for those importers that are maybe not usual importers, or maybe are small ones and so on, it's just a little example for those ones. And in terms of when you don't want to make a certificate of origin, you don't have an export code, you can apply to the treaty for merchandises that are less than 6,000 euros. And well, it seems to me that for those that are living in Switzerland, they know what does it mean, this number in their currency. So I don't want to explain that. Then we have some statistic things. I know that Vanessa already mentioned some of them, so I don't want to stop here so much. I think that first of all, to say that unfortunately with the situation of COVID, as you can see in the screen, the left side, we have a drop in the last moment, let's say from the middle of 2008 till now, but we expect a recovery of this situation in more than less 1.5 years to start to recover to the levels of 2008 that we have, you can see in the right side of the screen, the better levels in the history of the treaty, a little bit also in 5 years ago, as you can see in 2013. Practically, as you can see as well, we have between the last year, between 2018 and 2019, we had a drop of 6%. And also before, between 2017 and 2018, we have an increase of 15%. So it is important for us that after maybe, I hope that the pandemic situation would be solved and we can recover this number as soon as possible, of course. And then other thing that it seems to me that already also Vanessa mentioned, but it's not it is complementary. To say that, of course, the very important market between both countries are the pharmaceuticals and this kind of products. And you can see in this table in the screen that most part of the products in this moment, because this is a recently table of this year, as you can see here, are until September, from January to September, the 10 most important tariff items, Switzerland, Chile. You can see practically that we have 5 from 10 items that come from the harmonized system with the code 30, and that means pharmaceuticals. And we have approximately a 69% here in total of these items. So at the end, of course, that is a very important market between both countries, of course, in terms of export from Switzerland to Chile. But of course, also there are other products, as Vanessa said before, such as precision products, watches, and many others. Machinery, as you can see here as well, the number 5. And important to say that kind of stuff, because you can see also the amounts of things that we can see here also to can have in consideration as well. Well, then we change absolutely of topic and we go to the AEO, Authorized Economic Operator. This topic is a new one in Chile that is started 2 years ago. Unfortunately, this year was very difficult to continue with this certification because the pandemic situation. But it's something very useful and very important for the country. Mainly it's a certification that provide the National Customs Service in Chile and give you some benefit that we are going to explain later on. This certification is already proved in different parts of the world. As you can see, in the United States, famous one and known by CityPath. Then in the European Union as AEO, probably in Switzerland is the same one, have a particular name as well. And of course, in Asia have the same name that here in Chile, that's OEA. So this operador económico autorizado, we already have this certification as custom broker. In this moment, in Chile, it seems to me that we are already 7 from more than less 180 agencies in the country, and we expect that the next year started to apply many import and export companies because they have the authorization already to can do this kind of procedures. As you can see here in these slides, benefits. Well, firstly, to say, of course, this is a certification that provides for both for the customer and for the logistic chain and from the authorities, of course, security, the left side of the screen, agility in the procedures, mutual recognition, because both custom, both logistic chains could recognize in the future that kind of stuff, international standards, of course, as I mentioned in the slide before, and trust and transparency, because the topics that are inside of this certification are mentioned things about bribery, anti-corruption, security, and many other things that you have to apply and you have to demonstrate that you are working on and solving and avoid that kind of stuff in your organization. On the right side of the screen, you can, as I mentioned before, you have the very first important point for the importers that apply to the certification and also that have the requisite that needs to apply. They can avoid for 60 days, I mean, they can defer, let's say, for 60 days the VAT that we were talking about in the first slides. So that is very important that through this certification, they could defer this VAT for a while. So that is very important. Then maybe to mention you number 5 and 6. Number 5 says priority attention in cargo dispatch. That is very important because sometimes here we have some periods that in the ports are accumulated containers and so on, and you receive, maybe you have some problems so on, and if you have the certification, again, you can have priority attention in the cargo dispatch when you have a custom problem, for example, you have, or the custom decided that you have they have to review your cargo, they have to make some recognition and so on. You have priority in the attention through this authorization. And the last one, and this is let's say that is very important because it's also things that are working in the custom association and also in the world trade. They wanted to access to the benefit of mutual recognition with other customers of the world, and this is also in the GATT trade. And this is very important because for the future, they wanted to connect this kind of benefits in order to have a mutual benefit between customs in the world, and then, of course, made more efficient the procedures of revision and so on between importer and exporter. But for those kind of things, they have to, of course, have this kind of certification. Here, the explanation of the thing that I was mentioned before, just to review, you can defer this 19,000, I mean 20,140, you can defer for 60 days through the OEA certification. So at the end, if you do that, you have to pay nothing in the first point when you import the goods to Chile. If you have both situation, I mean, if you apply the treaty between Chile and Switzerland, and if you have the certification OEA. Well, then we go to an interesting topic, not so long, what a foreign trade operation looks like. Here you can see in the screen, mainly something familiar for some of you. Here you have international operation, order of purchase, and so on. The production, internal inland freight, country of origin, customs in Switzerland, loading, FOB, CIF, and then we have the situation of arriving to Chile, Chilean custom, international transport, final client storage, and well, at the end, import costing, and so on. So here we have a scheme that you can see different situation about the international trade, let's say the more important cornerstones of the process that are very important for the logistic chain. And important to mention that nowadays all of this stuff, in our case at least, we can control everything from the beginning of the process, I mean from the international operation, order of purchase, till the import of costing through a software that can be used for that.
Felipe, I don't know what happened with the presentation.
Yeah, sorry, something happened here.
Can you open it again?
Yeah, one moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So as I mentioned before, you can control through many software that we have today the whole process from the order of purchase, and we can control every step of the process till the import costing for the customer. So we can bring everything till the cost of products and so on. Then important to mention operation stage when the merchandise arrives to the country through, for example, you have the image of a vessel here. Important to mention because sometimes people think that these processes are automatic and so on, but this is not the situation. Somebody had to do some process and sometimes important one, as you can see in the left side of the screen. We have, for example, in the number 2, let's say, state container warranty and tag before shipping company. That means basically that we have to make a warranty of the container situation, and somebody had to do that. And basically, the thing that I wanted to explain that we as custom agency have to make some documents to protect the customer in terms of the situation of the container, for example, when they bring containers to the country. And then to finalize, there are some other things that we have to make as well, like, for example, visa documentation import or export facilities, and of course to bring the containers authorization to exit to the primary zone, because for every effect, the ports here in Chile, and I mean probably in the most part of the world, are international zone. So that means that it's like not to be in Chile practically. So we have to get the permission to can go out to this zone, and of course, if somebody, as I told you before, have to do this permission and then go out outside of the port. Then we have transport and storage, and this you can see in the right side that the document that is the very important one in Chile we call Guía de Despacho, as you said in the top at the right side. And this document is the document that allows you to can transport the goods from the port to the final destination in everywhere in our country. We basically have the condition or the name of the merchandises, sometimes the value. Of course, I raise the names of the importer and so on, but it's just to mention you that you have everything to can, if you somebody or the authorities want to control the cargo, here is the document that you have to use and bring to the authorities. And important to mention that, of course, the drivers have to check the container to can see if everything is correct, and also here that is right in the left side, containers delivered to the warehouse or customer logistics center for unloading, of course. Finally, the cost of the operation. As I mentioned in the scene before, when the operation is completed, all the invoices associated with the dispatch are recovered. Also, the delivery is digitalized and complete traceability of the operation is sent to the client. I mean with this that, as I told you before, through this kind of software that you can see in the right side of the screen, you can see, of course, that we are prepared, to bring to the customer everything through a software that they can see in the up in the top of the screen. You can see everything about the cost of the merchandise with the tax and so on. And then in the top, each item of the invoice with the respective cost. So we arrive to a cost for the merchandise automatically. So nowadays they don't have to make additional Excel or additional information, and we can also connect this kind of software with other software and so on. To finalize, just some tips for this pandemic situation. Just to mention, number one, as you can see here, we have a special resolution that allow clients and customers to bring product relation with the COVID situation to avoid some taxes or to have preferential situation immediately. So that's just to mention. Then we have an important case of donation that we made a couple of weeks ago that was successful. And just to mention this case because it was from Switzerland, from a famous laboratory, and we avoid almost $200,000 for a university here in Chile, because when you have a situation that a laboratory give a donation to an institution that have some particular situation, like a university that want to study things, we can make this kind of things. We can avoid immediately things like VAT that I mentioned before. And number three, custom resolution 1174 authorize us to continue our works here in Chile. So that means that we in one day that we have to go into our houses and start to work through the another system like the telework and so on. Well, we need something different, and we applied this resolution to start to work like this and so on. And the good things and the good notice is we started to work in this situation, and right now it's very safe. People are very, let's say, it's very happy because they understand the situation, and right now it seems to me that the international trade in Chile is very normally in this moment. It's normalized, let's say, and starting to doing the things very good in this moment. And of course, we hope that we can arrive to the levels of 1 year ago. So that was the presentation. I hope that you were enjoying that, and I really appreciate your audience, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you so much for the presentation. Now we're going to speak with Alfonso Orlando. Welcome, Alfonso.
Hello.
Head of Export Help from S. Can you hear me, Alfonso? Yes?
Yes,
Head
perfectly.
of Export Help from SGE, Switzerland Global Enterprise. He's in charge of the last presentation. I'll give you the control immediately, Alfonso.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll mute ourselves and block our cameras.
So I guess everyone can see my screen now.
Yes, everybody.
Yes.
Maybe Juan Eduardo, Felipe, can you turn off your cameras, please?
Yes, 1 minute.
Okay, 1 sec. I can't see my presentation right now. So perfect. That's fine. Good. Thank you very much for the introduction, Vanessa, about Switzerland Global Enterprise (SG), and you, Felipe, for the very deep insight in the daily life of a custom broker while importing goods into Chile. Yes, my name is Alfonso Orlando. I'm responsible within Switzerland Global Enterprise for the export help team, and what we are actually doing is, I just need to switch presentation. I can't go further. Sec.
Press with the arrows, or on the bottom right, you can press them.
Here we go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Yes. What are we actually doing within export help? We're actually the help desk for all related export technical questions, as we right now heard from Felipe. Questions regard daily pain points, or also opportunity, how to use FTAs, questions in terms of custom. And our task is, as we are mandated from SECO, from the State Secretary of Economy in Switzerland, we are able to provide free of charge information if the research is not over 1 hour. So we have more or less 2,000 questions each year, and as I mentioned before, typical questions are all about regarding free trade agreements, rules of origin, custom questions, import regulation, or even VAT. So just to give you just an idea what it's about. Good. I would like to give you also a short example. What we heard from Felipe before, I have a similar presentation for a product. Let's see what we can see for the import if we have, let's say, an electric motors we want to export out from Switzerland to Chile. And as Vanessa mentioned at the beginning in the introduction, she talked about this Mendel Online. This is a database we can provide free of charge for Swiss companies. It only needs a registration. probably the most of you know this database, but I want just show you in a 1 or 2 minutes what it means for you and how fast you can get to this relevant information. So let's say we have this 8501 ASH code, which are electric motors. And the first thing we're going to see is this MFN, is most favored nation. This is the duty, which is 6%. We saw before, Philippe mentioned. And if, as we have a free trade agreement, you can see if you take use or advantage of this free trade agreement, of course, if you fulfill the origin, then you can import this electrical motors for free, as without paying any duties, according to this free trade agreement. What else? So what you can see also is what is the VAT while importing in Chile, also 90%, we have seen before. And I think much more important is also to know, beside the custom duty, is what kind of formalities are being required by the custom in Chile. And in this case, in this example, you can really easily see that there are a section which is called specific requirements for this kind of goods, electric motor and generators. That means what we can easily see is 2 specific requirements are being asked. So the first thing is an approval certificate for electrical or full products, and this is only required if you're electric or electric or full use products. And the second specific requirement of this product will be if hazardous waste is needed for disposal. So if no one of these 2 matches to your product, then you can easily see it's not required for your product. So what else? You can also see the rules of origin. So if you can benefit from the free trade agreement, your products need to fulfill the specific rules of origin criteria. And you can easily see that for this chapter 85 to 8502, you have actually 2, let's say 2 possibilities to fulfill these criteria. So this just in a nutshell that you see actually, without going into deep from the beginning, what kind of requirements will be asked for importing your goods in Chile. So what can this also mean for your daily business? I mean, it's something you can also use for negotiation with your trade partner in Chile. So negotiation in terms of pricing, of Incoterms you're going to choose, because in this database you're also going to see if what kind of specific requirements are asked in Chile, and sometime or mainly you need to be based in Chile to fulfill these criteria. So this gives you also a chance to in this negotiation if you can fulfill the what you have negotiated with your client or not. And it also is a good, I say, instrument. So if you are asked by your customer in Chile, hey, listen, I need the certification, you can easily double check if it's correct or not. But sometimes we know from the daily business that customers are asking about documents which are not really necessary anymore. And this gives you also not also a time saver, also a money saver if you don't have to issue any documents like certificate of origin or similar documents anymore. So this is just in a nutshell what it means if you want to have a short overview about importing into Chile. So our network, of course, we, as Vanessa mentioned before, we work closely with also the Chamber of Commerce in Chile, other authorities, association, Swiss business hubs. And this is actually our USP, our network we use to get actually the information for you as a Swiss exporter as fast as we can, and also from the market. And this helps us a lot to to receive the information as fast as possible. So this is actually in a nutshell what Export Help is doing. As I mentioned before, really technical questions, technical issues. We have a lot of calls or emails when it's burning, means our goods are stuck at the custom. What can we do? And this is something we can really use our network as a USP to give you the kind of help you are looking for in this moment. So if you have any further questions, please feel free. We'll be here in this webinar till the end. And I would like to pass to Constanza. Back to you.
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you so much. Well, this is the end of our webinar, but we want to hear from you. So please, if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat and I will read them. I have a question immediately. Let me see. From Simon Shedder. Is there a similar FTA between the EU and Chile? I don't know who can answer that, but yes, we have a free trade agreement.
Yes, there is a free trade agreement between EU and Chile.
Yes. We have one from. Yes, go ahead.
The question was if we have a free trade agreement with the European Union and Chile. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed, we have one since a lot of time ago, and we use the same certificate of origin as the treaty of with Switzerland. So that's the answer, basically.
Yeah. Petra Schneegman, is it mandatory to have a transport insurance cover for import to Chile if the delivery terms are not CIF/CIP?
There is some platform that you can see the questions.
No, I have to read them. Maybe I can send them to you by chat if you want.
Yeah, would be nice. Let me. At what time was the question? Sorry, you can see.
10:20.
10:20. Okay. Maybe I have another time. For CIP, that one, or which one? The name? Or?
That's the. I just sent it to you through the chat, Felipe.
Okay.
Did you get it?
The last one? In many cases, that one?
And before that.
It is mandatory.
Is it? Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's say that you can make a dispatch of custom from primary zone in Chile, in the different situation, the different custom, even in the airports or the ports in Chile, you need to have the CIF value, and that's include the insurance policy as well. But here, as I see, they ask for a transfer insurance. So the thing that is not so clear for me is about they ask for a transfer insurance. Okay, so maybe they wanted to know about the insurance policy. Okay, there is that. We have different situations. Of course, as I told you before, we need always to conform the CIF value. That is very important. But on the other hand, that's not means that you have mandatory to need the policy. You can also, there is another system that you can conform the CIF but it's a little that you can apply the 2% of the value FOB, and you can calculate that and apply to arrive to the CIF. So you can in that form you can practically have another form to can confirm the CIF value and not have a insurance policy. But of course, in that form, you have to pay more taxes. The merchandise are increasing their value and so on. So it's not something that I will personally recommend. So it is possible, but it's not something that somebody will recommend. I mean, that would be the answer.
Thank you, Felipe. Anybody else? Yes, I got it here. Yeah, Petra says thank you very much. Anybody else has a question, please? You can write it through the chat and we can answer it. We have a specialist. I mean, we have Alfonso, we have Felipe and Juan Eduardo. So let's wait a few minutes. Okay, Andrea Matis. Good day. We are traders based in Switzerland and export to Chile. Pharma ingredients from Switzerland or countries like China or India. I understand that the COO is also valid from these countries, correct? I will send the question through the chat.
Yes, please.
No problem. Immediately, so you can. Ready, sent it. Maybe, I don't know if Alfonso, Felipe can answer that.
Yes, of course. Well, the important thing here it is that independent that when you have where do you have your offices, the important thing is it is where there are the merchandises. So, for example, if you have the merchandise in China, you have to apply the treaty between China and Chile, okay? Or in the case of India, you have to apply the treaty between India and Chile, okay? So that is the rule of the treaty, okay? Always you have to apply the treaty between where the merchandise are. That is mainly the base of the situation. And the office, if you are in Switzerland, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can confection the document from there and make everything from there, it doesn't matter. But the important rule is to have in consideration that the treaty that you have to apply is between the countries that the merchandise are.
Exactly.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you for answering. And I sent you another question through the chat from Alejandro Galvis. They have a product that is similar to a modem, a router. So he's saying that according to what he saw, a special local certification is required for this product. I don't know who can answer that.
This is actually something you can really easily have a look into the database, in this custom database, and this can be easily done if I would know the HS code of your product. Then we can see if there are any specific certification requests or needed for importing this into Chile.
Okay, yes. Another question, let me see. A question, could you please explain how the import of goods works in the case of leased goods? Example, a drone entering Chile for a specific work on a leasing contract. I'll send it to you by chat so we can answer it. That's it. Sorry, that's the last question. The last question I sent through the chat is the question.
Well, this is a very specific question. I mean, there are some kind of possibilities, let's say. Sometimes there are a famous one that called carnet data. Also, there are another one that is a temporary admission. That the problem of that is you have to pay additional taxes that called tasa here in Chile, that have a scale of tasa, and if you pay and if you pass some kind of days, you will have to pay the whole amount of the ad valorem that we call in the presentation of 6%. So you have a couple of kind of possibilities in this kind of cases. Of course, the better one would be if you have a filial or a company established in Chile that can make the import and then return to Switzerland, for example, and so on. But if you don't have that case, you have a couple of other situations. As I mentioned before, it's not just one possibility. Sometimes we make some studies through our company, through our legal study that we have here in Chile as well, in this kind of things, because there are sometimes, for example, we work with the company Deloitte as well, very near, and they used to work with some customer that wanted to know a lot about this kind of situation to avoid some kind of taxes or some kind of situation that could happen about different problems that happen in the international trade. So, and of course, as I told you, it is important to have the possibilities, but there are some options, and that is important to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Felipe. Anybody else, please? Thank you very much for all your questions. If you have any more, you can send them through the chat. I can read them and we can answer them. Okay, this one. Is there a database or list where it is possible to see which countries have a treaty with Chile and can present certificates of origin? Oh, I'll write it here.
Please.
Yes, maybe I can answer that.
Okay, Vanessa.
There's a website it's called sobre. I will now quickly search it just to have the exact address. But there's an overview of all the treaties right now that Chile has or is in discussion. Right now it's 29, it's a high number. And there you see an exact overview of which treaties are in place with which countries, and you can also find the content of the treaties. I will send the link in the chat in a few minutes.
Thank you, Vanessa. Is the import of used goods restricted generally or only in the case of cars, of motorbikes? I sent it to the chat.
Okay, good question. Well, as Alfonso said some question before, that for that kind of product, we need to know a little bit more deep. Let's say we need, for example, the code from the harmonized system in order to understand a little bit more what exactly the product is. So that means if, for example, this particularly trolley for airports apply for a capital good, it is not a problem. And also we can avoid immediately the 6% taxes in this particularly category of capital goods, because there are also an important things to know that maybe we do not forget in the presentation, but because it was not the main topic, but just to mention here in this answer round, we have here in Chile a list of capital goods that also is very important to know that in this list practically we have trucks, machineries, and so on. And in this case, we also is the possibility not just to have the new products, so also used products like that in this category, and they can bring this kind of product to Chile because, as you know, we don't produce this kind of stuff, and you can avoid the 6% of custom duties. And in this case of the question, could be the case that we can avoid immediately the 6%, and we don't need also neither the certificate of origin. So that is the good things of this kind of merchandise that are in this list of capital goods, let's say. So, but returning to the point, it's important to know before if this product is in this category, and for that it is important to have an approximate of the product, to know the papers, to have a view before what the product is.
Thank you, Felipe. Anybody else? Does anybody else have a question? It's already 11 a.m. here in Chile. What time is it over there, Alfonso, in Switzerland?
It's 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock.
Okay. Well, maybe, I don't know, if you don't have any more questions, maybe we can finalize the webinar, which has been very successful. I just want to tell all the assistants that this webinar has been recorded, and we will send the link. So if you've missed any details, you can see it again on our YouTube channel, and we will send the PowerPoints of Felipe too, and Alfonso and Vanessa. So, well,
Perfect.
Thank you.
yes, so let me see, one last question I think I have. Oh no, that's it. Everybody's thanking us. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with SGE, TradePoint, Felipe, and the Chilean Customs Agency. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you to everybody from Switzerland, and I hope we can meet again in 2021.
Thank you very much.
Constanza. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Have a good day. All. Have a good day to all. Thank you very much.